Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to Storytelling with Senior Storyteller Kate Portal. It's a bit of a tale of two Kates today. My name's Kate Rullison. I'm Youth Development Worker at Together 2012. And today I am wearing an orange top, long sleeved, with a blue, orange and white pair of dungarees over the top. I'm white with shoulder length brown hair and I'm wearing blue eyeshadow. And Kate, if you'd like to give an audio description as well.
Yeah, well, I'm wearing a dark green thick cardigan over I think it's a pale brown jumper with various polo necks that are sort of different browns underneath it. Yeah, that's right. And I'm white and have long white, more or less straight hair.
Fabulous, thank you.
Yes, I'm Kate Portal, and I do lots of different jobs, but they all relate to playing music and telling stories. And today I'll be telling a story. I run music workshops, and I also play the concertina and the fiddle a little bit, and I run several musical workshops during the week. But today I'll be telling you a story, and the stories I tell, they're always traditional. I say they're always traditional, but the most traditional thing about a story is it should be told. Absolutely. So although it might be an older story, it could apply to anybody. Anyone might be in this situation, possibly, perhaps in a different way, or with slightly different things at their disposal, or different skills at their disposal. Anyway, this story is called The Tailor's Button. Now, I heard a storyteller called Taffy Thomas tell this story. He originally grew up in the West Country in Somerset, in and near Yeovil, and moved to the Lake District when he became a famous storyteller, as far as I know. And he's got lots of stories. And I quite like telling short stories, and I thought, well, this one's a really nice, quite short story. And it's really all about common sense and how you can make what you can out of any situation, I suppose. Anyway, the story, as I say, it's called The Tailor's Button. Now, for anyone very young listening, I may be wrong, but if you don't know what a tailor is, you might think it's someone who tells tales. But no, it's someone who makes clothes. And there used to be lots of people in the tailoring profession who lived around the country, possibly in villages or towns, and people would get to know them, and they'd take their clothes, they'd take pieces of fabric to them to be made up into suits and dresses and all kinds of things that people wore at the time. And so I'm going to tell you about the tailor's button. There was once a tailor, and he was very proud of the fact that he'd made himself a very lavish and beautiful and long coat. It was a green coat, and it was made of velvet. And every time he wore it, he knew he'd get himself more jobs because he'd made it. So if somebody asked where he'd got it from, he'd say, "I made it." And his coat was almost like a part of him. Sometimes we have these sorts of clothes, don't we? But the trouble was, it was very, very long, and sometimes the hem at the bottom dragged on the floor. And after a while, it started to wear out a bit. The tailor said, "Oh dear, what a shame." And then he thought for a while, and then he said, "But all is not lost. After all, I'm a tailor. All I need to do is cut the damaged material off, take it up and sew it up, and then I'll have a 3/4 length coat." And so that's what the tailor did. And he went round looking very smart in his 3/4 length green velvet coat. But maybe the 3/4 length coat, it was really, really good. But because he wore it so much, eventually that started wearing out as well. And he thought, well, the best thing to do would be to take it up a bit more, and then it would become a jacket, a very smart green velvet jacket. And he wore that, and when he went out and about, people would give him work and so on, because they realized what a good tailor he was. He made really good clothes. And then what happened was that the cuffs on the sleeves started to wear out. And he said to himself, "Oh, what a shame." But then he thought, well, there's nothing to worry about. I'm a tailor, and I will just alter the cuffs so that they're not so long anymore, which is what he did, and they were very smart. It was now a jacket with 3/4 length sleeves, and he wore this around the place, and people looked at him and thought he's excellent at making clothes. And so after a while, he didn't really know what to do. But then the elbows in the coat, they started to wear out. And so he thought, well, he can make a really short sleeve jacket and the velvet would still look beautiful. And so that's what he did. And he went on walking around looking for jobs, occasionally doing them. And after a while, the shoulders started to go through. And the tailor said, "Ah, dear, what a shame. But I shouldn't worry, I'm a tailor. I can make this garment into a waistcoat," which is what he did. And he had quite a long, smart waistcoat to wear, beautiful green velvet. And then after a while, that seemed to wear out too. So he had a waistcoat that was very short. He made the long one into a short one. And everything was going fine until, well, he realized that the short waistcoat was also wearing out. The buttonholes were getting a bit tatty, and he thought the best thing to do would be to make a lovely green velvet hat. So he sewed and stitched and darned and did all the things you do to make things into other things, really. And he put the hat on his head. He was so proud that he managed to make a hat out of such random pieces of material. And then he decided that even the hat was getting a bit old and battered, because many years had passed by then. And he thought, but I can't waste this hat, this green velvet. There's still some very good bits on it. And so he stitched and tucked and sewed. And eventually he said, and he managed to make himself the most beautiful green velvet bow tie. And he wore it with this suit. And of course, he wished he'd never had a suit. He kept thinking about that beautiful green coat, but he thought, never mind. It made the suit look very smart, having a green velvet bow tie. And then, one day, he realised that the smart bow tie was even getting a bit tatty. Oh dear, he said, what can I do? Oh, but then I needn't worry, he said. I'm a tailor and I can cover a button. And so there he had it, a beautiful green button. And as he made the button, and as it was so beautiful and so green, he thought, perhaps one day I'll make another long green velvet coat and I can do it up with this button. But in the meantime, he was really proud of his button. And maybe we can retell this story to each other. And maybe we can think of all kinds of ways of using up scraps of material and covering buttons, making all different things instead of wasting anything. Therefore, we'll be reusing things. Or is it reducing things first? First, you have to reduce things, don't you? Then you reuse them. And then eventually you recycle them, which is nearly like throwing away because you've lost control of what's going to happen to things. But anyway, the tailor with his button was very good at doing all these kinds of things. Thank you, and I hope you have a very nice festive season, or however you like it to be.